Okay, let's test this out for real now. All right, so that audio is working on my end. Hey, buddy.
Hey, should I have headphones in?
I think it was causing the feedback before on my end, but let's see if it's okay right now. I think I was just picking up your audio double before,
Okay.
but it sounds pretty good so far.
Okay, hold on. Oh, much better. All right.
Perfect.
Now, wait a minute. Where's my speaker? There it is. So I should probably do it this way. Okay. I still can't see me. That makes me... Hold on. Whoa.
While you're talking, it will probably be you, if that makes sense.
On your screen, what do you see? Do you see you or do you see... Oh.
When you're talking, you're the main image, and then when I'm talking, I'm the main image, and then there's a thumbnail of you.
Uh-huh. All right, so wait. So if I start talking right now, no, the thumbnail doesn't move.
Not for you?
No. Oh, well, I guess it's not a big deal. Just tell me if I look like hideous or anything.
I mean, you look fine. And like I said, the main goal for this is for me to take the audio and use that for an audio podcast.
It's an audio podcast, so I don't have to worry about it. Okay, I thought you were going to use a video.
Yeah, the only people you'd have to worry about it with are like the people who, for some reason, decided to tune in to like the link on like my personal YouTube profile.
Okay.
I don't know if that would really happen. Well,
I'm pretty sure people would want to hear us talk. What's the link? I'll put it on Facebook. Or do you want people to know?
It might have gone out. Let me take a look.
Hold on.
At least one popped up on Twitter, but I'm going to delete that one because it's a bullshit post. That's the old one. Let me take a gander. I can send a link there.
Oh, okay.
Here, if you want to. I don't know how long this is going to be, but it's like a long, complicated Hangouts link that I can send to you via Facebook Messenger.
Okay. All right. Well, either way. All right. So what do you want to talk about? What's going on?
Well,
what does that do? Are those like binders?
Oh, behind me? Oh, yeah, they're like magazine rack things. They're organizers.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the main thing. And then, this is my like desk area at my house now.
Okay, cool. Excellent.
Yeah, also, I just did the fan verification thing for New York Comic Con.
Okay, so you plan on going?
Yes. I said 3-day pass because I figure I'll probably be able to take off Friday, but I doubt I'll take off Thursday. And even if I did, that means I have to leave like Wednesday to do it. So, but this time I'm all set to actually purchase it on time, and instead of being like, oh yeah, I'll get to it, and then come back to it being like, oh, there's only Sundays? What?
Yeah, it's getting serious now. This is like, I mean, it's good and it's bad, like there's no guarantee we'll get tickets. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it's fun. So on that note, why don't we kind of just go through the list? I resent you the questions, but I'm just going to ask them, and it's just your honest answers. It's not like you need to, like a canned response.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I actually was kind of looking over them while I was walking the dogs. You'll have to excuse me. But I mean, like the thing is, so I just don't want to. I don't want to be like, when I answer them, I don't want to be boring, So.
I mean, I think nerds are going to appreciate it regardless, and like the podcast I've been working with is like a very nerd centric. It's mostly Star Wars, but then also other stuff. Like I've been on to talk about Star Trek and superhero stuff a lot. And I figured this would be a good one because we had talked a little bit about cosplay, but not on the actual podcast, just about it generally.
Okay.
And they are going to be doing Awesome Con coverage in a few weeks, and this might be a good thing to put in either the one like leading up to it or the one that they do when they're actually there.
Okay, cool. And that's Awesome Con is actually in like Virginia, DC, somewhere around there.
It's in DC. Unfortunately, I'm going to be in upstate New York during that weekend.
What's up there?
My 10-year college reunion.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Wait a minute. How come have you been to New York City since Comic-Con?
Yeah, but very like quick trips. Like I came up for one friend's birthday party, and like another friend moved to London, so I came up for that, like for a going away party for him. It's been a lot of them are like up for the thing that day, and then like back the next morning.
Right. I hear that.
But yeah, I need to do like a longer trip up, like a either take off Friday and like come up and hang out for a couple days kind of thing.
I hear that.
Yeah, it's just hard to justify, but summer's the slow season for my job. So we do liquor sales, and it just is super dead in DC during the summertime.
Okay.
So I might be able to make that work. Either like half my company is going to be gone during Tales of the Cocktail, the big bartender convention.
Where's that at?
That's in New Orleans.
Ooh, wow! I'd love to go to that.
I would too, but I'm definitely not going unless some miracle happens. So the most likely chance will be like either right before or right after, when like everyone's back in town or like haven't left yet.
Right.
Because obviously I can't go when I'm holding down the fort in DC. Anyway, so let's take this from the top.
Okay, let's do it.
So this is Case here, and I'm talking with my friend Vash, who is a huge advocate for cosplay, a huge enthusiast. He's the guy who got me into doing cosplay stuff, and we kind of got into it together because he was like, one Halloween, let's make a costume, and then since then he's blown up on the cosplay scene. So say hey, Vash.
Hey, Vash. Hey, guys.
All right. So first up, let's explain what cosplay is for people who don't know.
Okay. It's very funny because cosplay is actually it's two words. Costume and playing. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what they mean. I could be wrong, but what's funny is you and I say cosplay, and we just look at it as, oh yeah, dressing up and going to a convention or even a Halloween or whatever the case may be, doing a little video. But I've actually had other people argue, fight, and befriend people on Facebook for calling it cosplay because they're like, it's not cosplay, you're costuming. And I don't know what you think about that, but to me, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't really know the difference. I just want to dress up as a superhero.
That's kind of how I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't look. I don't know. I guess maybe I don't look that deeply into it. I don't know if I should or shouldn't, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't care what you call it. I just like to dress up as a superhero.
So wait, what's the counterpoint? Like, are we talking like LARPing, like people pretending to be superheroes and like acting out scenes, or just, or what? When you say like cosplay versus costuming?
See, and that's the thing. I don't really know what the argument is. I've never looked into it because to me, it shouldn't really matter what you call it. I guess when I dress up, do I like when you dress up, like the time you were the Beast and you were Blanca, you got into character. Maybe that's cosplaying. When I dress up, I don't know if I act like the character. I know I don't do it as well as you do, but I definitely like want to try to act like the person. So I don't know. Maybe we are cosplaying.
Maybe we're cosplaying in all life. All right, so let's. I guess we sort of roundabout answered it. So cosplay, generally, like the pop culture term for it, is getting dressed up as a costume from some sort of like nerd ephemera. Like, are you going out as like a stormtrooper or a superhero or whatever? It's not like one specific genre, but it is just, it's being in costume for that character and going out.
Absolutely.
Sort of, and like the big one is conventions.
And it's not just sci-fi. Like sci-fi is a big part of it, but I've actually seen people dress up as like the crooks from Home Alone. I've seen people dress up as what's his name? Jared from Allstate, the one that's like talking to the guy's wife at 3 a.m. Like I saw somebody come. No, that's not Jared. It's somebody.
Jacob? Like khakis, yeah.
Something, yeah, but he's like, she's like, what are you wearing? He's like, khakis. The commercial.
Yeah.
somebody came as that guy, and not just one person. You know, I've seen plenty of people dress up. Well, speaking of which, do you remember in Jurassic World when the pterodactyls were attacking and one guy grabbed the two margaritas?
This is going to hurt my nerd cred, but I actually never watched Jurassic World.
Oh.
I saw Jurassic Park 3 in theaters, but yeah, I never saw World.
All right, well, it's a very... The thing about it is it was such a small thing because you just see like a crowd of people running from the pterodactyls, and in the corner of the screen you see this one guy just grab his two margaritas and keep running. And I noticed it the very first time I saw the movie, but a lot of other people didn't. And then I go to a convention and I see like 100 guys dressed as the guy with the two margaritas in their hands, and I'm like, okay, so it was a thing. You know, I mean, like you just never you can dress as whatever you want. Doesn't have to be a superhero or anything, and it's cosplay.
Yeah, like after the Super Bowl with Katy Perry, where they were all like Left Shark.
Yeah, remember that? And
yeah.
Now Left Shark is a thing. So I mean, it's a whole like anything you can imagine. Just pop culture, I guess, would be the right word to use. Yeah. I would imagine.
Hey, so how did you get into it?
Oh boy. Okay, so I remember back in like 2006. I paid a young lady, very talented young woman. I paid her $250 plus I bought all the material and everything for her to make me a Wolverine costume, Wolverine from the X-Men cartoon. And she did it, and I wore it, and I felt great, and I was like, this is so awesome. It was spandex. Back then, I was in shape. I was working out. I was looking good. I was feeling good. And I rocked it. And then the next year, I was like, I want something else. And the next year, I was like, I want something else. And I was like, this is expensive. So one day, I was sitting on the couch with my roommate, and I said, hey. And I said, you're not doing anything? Come with me to Kmart. We're going to buy a sewing machine. And I went and I picked out one just in the price range I was looking for. I didn't know if it was a good one or a bad one. I was just like, this is about right. And then I went to the fabric store, having never been in a fabric store before. All I knew was what colors I wanted. I didn't know what kind of material. I didn't know how much I needed. When the guy showed me like some spandex, I took it and wrapped it around me, and I said, I guess this is enough. Like that was all I knew. And I came home, and it took me 3 days and about 1,000 hours on YouTube to figure out how to use that sewing machine because I had never seen one in my entire life. But after a while, it worked out, and I got some stuff going. And the very, very first thing I made was the yellow and blue X-Men suits from Uncanny X-Men number 275. I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. That was
that was the first thing?
That was the very first, between you and I or whatever. If you look on Facebook, you'll see me, Freddie, and Deirdre, and Steve in those outfits. I made 4 of them for the 4 of us because we were living together at the time. Those are the very first things I made.
Yeah, I remember those costumes. I just thought that to back up on my personal connection, the first thing that I wore that you had made was when we did the Green Lanterns and like the different color cores. So I was Blue Lantern. You were purple, indigo, or
indigo.
Yeah, you're indigo.
See, that was our first like street thing. Like I had to figure out how to make things, which was the yellow and blue, and then I was like, okay, now I know how to make spandex suits. Time to make something. So our very first like costume or group thing or whatever you want to call are like, I guess the yellow blue suits were like the practice run. And then the main event was the lantern that first Halloween.
Right. And that was for the Halloween event or like parade that we tried to get into. So like the goal was to like go off and be like completely out in public.
Yeah. And what was it? The lantern spectrum. We had every color. It was awesome. It was awesome. And don't get me wrong, the costumes looked terrible for my very first one. They looked horrendous. I look back on it because that was 2010. So I look back at 6 years ago. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, these are terrible. I don't know how you guys agreed to get in those because I would have never.
Well, I was just so excited to be a Blue Lantern. That was so cool.
I mean, it was a great time, but I mean, I honestly wish because like a lot of the people who were there then have moved away and gone on to bigger and better things. And I'm like, if I could get the same group of people back together, I would totally redo those costumes and they would look amazing.
Yeah, but we would totally have to redo mine because at the time I was not in shape, but I was in better shape.
Same here. Same here. Right now, I look like 2 pounds of bologna in a 1 pound bag. So,
but so you had
actually,
no experience, and you just decided you're going to make a costume.
you know what's really funny? When we did the lantern costumes, because I had bought the sewing machine in July, and then we went out that October for Halloween. I decided we were going to go out for Halloween having only made one suit in my life. So I committed to making like 9 brand new suits from scratch by Halloween, all in everybody's different sizes. Like I committed. I took money from everybody and everything. That was, I mean, looking back, I'm like, that was pretty bold. I mean, I had like 0 experience sewing. I had no idea what I was doing. I can only imagine what those first like 4 or 5 pair of gloves looked like for those suits.
Oh yeah, in retrospect, they kind of looked like cylinders with like worms growing out of them. But I mean, it's still impressive that you just like went and did it. And then since then, you've just gotten so much better because you've just practiced and you've gotten, you've seen patterns and just updated. But
honestly, I guess this was something that I really, really enjoyed, and I just kept at it. Like every time I turned around, I was looking at new things on the computer, on Google, and looking up different ways. And I would look closely at people's costumes. It even got to the point when we were watching movies, like if somebody jumped out in a costume, everybody's watching the movie, and I'm like, oh, so that's how you connect the thumb to the hand. Like I was just all about like, how are people making things? So, I mean, I'm no professional now. I've still never taken any lessons, but my glove game is pretty damn nice right now.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of those, like the processes of making these costumes. Like you mentioned, like going out and buying the fabric, and now you've been like working on gloves and some of the harder details. But like your steps when you're actually going to go about making a costume. And let's, obviously with spandex, like there's a certain type versus something that's maybe like more foam based or something. Like what are some of the steps you go through from start to finish, like concept to completion?
Well, before I like say that, you have to know that like there's no one way to make any kind of costume. Like I've seen the same Wonder Woman tiara made in 600 different styles. I've seen all sorts of. I've seen Magneto helmets made out of cardboard, foam, silicone, 3D printing. I mean, there's so many different ways to do the same thing. And the way I do it worked for me because like I have no experience. So for me, I look at a picture and I go, okay, what am I going to do to get that picture onto someone? So like let's start with that Blue Lantern we did for you back in 2010.
Sure.
Now, that was back when I was brand new. And do you remember that was we made like a pair of pants, and then we made the shirt. And I remember you wanted the shirt to be like black but with blue at the top with a white lining.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I just learned how to sew yesterday. And
you had me sketch my idea for the costume because we weren't doing the costume of like a character that was already established. It was like, if I got the Blue Lantern ring, like what would be my outfit, because it was a more flexible kind of concept.
Yeah, that's right. Because I was so new, I was like, I'd rather not try to make something that people can say that's wrong. So I was like, okay, if we make up our own, no one can say, it doesn't look the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
So, and that was my like getaway from not knowing how to sew. So when we did the Blue Lantern, we did the pants, and then I think you wore like boots. You wore your own black boots.
Yeah, I had the Star Trek boots.
And then we did the black shirt with the blue on top. And I remember that specifically because it was so hard for me. Like I understood what you wanted, but it was so hard to get it straight. And it took me like 3 or 4 tries of sewing it. Nope, doesn't look right. Pulling apart, and then sewing it again. And now if I were to make that same suit, I could make it in about 3 hours. No, don't say that. Don't put that in. It wouldn't be 3 hours. But it would be a lot easier, and I'm sure I could do the design. Like if it was that same design, which I remember, that's a design I know how to do very easily now. So I mean, I guess just with lots of practice and learning things and watching, like you really do get better if you keep at things.
Yeah, and you've gotten a lot
Yeah.
more faithful too. Like since then, like you used to do a lot more of like generic kind of costumes, and since then you've really gone to like you're doing an actual character. You're doing, like this is going to be your Thor, this is going to be your Magneto, versus being like this is an X-Men costume or this is a Lantern costume. Now, when you do like those kind of like specific characters, are there like certain steps you take in researching and figuring out what design you're going to do and how you're going to do it?
Yeah, like okay, let's like my thing is the first thing I have to do is research. And the first thing I research is the character in comics. And I'll Google, say for instance, let's talk about Captain America. I will Google Captain America and pull like 25 different pictures of him. Because the worst part about comic book heroes and costumes is every artist does it a little differently. So sometimes the Captain America, the wings on his head are kind of close. Sometimes they're sticking out. Sometimes they're really long. The Flash is another example of that, where the belt is a thin zigzag belt, or other times the wings on his shoes come way out. So you have to say to yourself, well, what do I want? What's going to work for us? We're going to be walking around, what's the best way to build this? And so the research is a huge part. Before I even start anything, I already know how it's going to be done. I know if like what was a new one? Archangel. When I did Archangel, I didn't start the costume until I built the wings. So I was like, it's not going to go anywhere without the wings. For Medusa, which you haven't seen yet, but you'll see it this year at Comic-Con, I built the wig first because I was like, without the hair, that costume is nothing. And that's where I start. With Forge from X-Men, the arm, the metal arm and the metal leg, I built those, and I was like, once that's done, making a suit is pretty easy because you're just making a one-piece spandex suit.
Yeah, let's talk about those wigs for a second, because you have really sort of made a mark doing that. Like that's become like one of your signature type of pieces. So yeah, like those wigs, because when we did X-Men a few Halloweens back, and I went as Beast, you initially had like blue fur fabric all over this costume, and then flash forward to Comic-Con that same year, and all of a sudden it was a foam wig with like foam pieces. So let's talk about those. Like, how did that idea come up, and then how do you do it, and what are some of the coolest uses of that?
Okay, so the first thing is the first time that ever came into play, which was before Beast, was we were going to Dragon Con in Atlanta, my favorite con, and we needed like a quick costume. I was like we needed like one costume for like a Friday night, and I was like, I don't have time for anything elaborate, so it was just my friend Carlos and I, and I was like, ooh, you'll be Ryu. We'll just get a karate suit or kung fu suit. I'll be Akuma, and I'll use foam to make his hair. And I took EVA foam and cut out these shapes and glued them all together and then painted them, and it became this Akuma wig. And before we even went to Dragon Con, I just took a picture, a selfie in the mirror, and I was like, Akuma. And they got like, for me, which is a lot, I got like 100 likes on the picture. And I was like, this is the most likes I've ever gotten, and this is supposed to be like a quick throwaway costume. So that Akuma wig was the very first thing I ever did. And then after that, I moved on to Iceman, Beast, Gambit. And the Gambit, I have to say, is probably the most popular. I just started making these EVA foam 3-dimensional wigs. And for me, it didn't come easily because like now I make them a little better than I did before, but that's just from making so many of them. I'm actually commissioning wigs now. I actually just sent out a Super Saiyan Trunks wig.
Yeah, I saw that one
Dragon
online.
Ball Z.
It's a really cool.
Yeah, and I've never even watched the cartoon. I don't know anything about it. People keep
That's where
saying,
that
"Can you
research
make
comes
this?"
from.
Yeah, it was a lot, and now I don't know who the character is, but I can point him out because I've seen like 1,000 pictures of him because of my research, and that wig was not easy because that wig the guy has a ponytail, and I can't really. The thing about Dragon Ball Z characters is really fun to make because I have to figure it out. But I'm like, hair doesn't really like would the foam doesn't really work like that hair. So it's really interesting the way you have to put it together so that it looks right. But yeah, I love my wigs. I think they're great. They're not something that other people couldn't figure out. I haven't like cracked any kind of code, but I don't see many people doing it, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the cool things you do see people doing? Like, what are some of like the coolest, weirdest costumes? At now, you mentioned Dragon Con. We've done Comic Con. I know you've been trying to hit up a lot of these conventions. So, what are some of the crazy out there things?
Oh my goodness, it's crazy. There's okay. Well, I have a friend. Well, a friend that I actually met at Dragon Con who dressed as Hela from Marvel Comics, and she had the big long horns that Hela wears, and it was so amazingly done, so well done, and it wasn't one of these giant, Transformer costumes like you've seen, or the Hulkbuster Iron Man like we saw at New York Comic Con last year, which was absolutely phenomenal. But just the things that people can come up with in their own garages and apartments. You don't need a big house. You don't need an industrial workspace. Like people put together some amazing things. I'm trying to think just off the top of my head. Oswald Cobblepot, the penguin from Batman Returns, the one that Danny DeVito was. I've seen someone dressed like him, and it was just absolutely perfect. The nose, the fins, the rounded belly. This is really tough off the top of my head, Case. I'm not good with.
No, I'm sorry.
Pulling things off
I mean,
my head.
that Hulkbuster you mentioned was great, but I thought that was like a team of people who did it, and then other times you see people who are just like really creative and like.
Yeah.
So it's all over the place. I mean, it's really taking the sort of fun of Halloween and like really making a culture around it.
It absolutely is. I mean, what's really cool is I'll meet someone in, say, for instance, New York Comic Con, and when I hit like or hit, friend them, it'll say, well, you have mutual friends with somebody in Atlanta and San Diego and here. And I'm like, I know how I met those people, but how did you two meet? It's so cool that all these people like know each other and seen each other. And I can see you in a costume and just go, oh, hey, remember me? I saw you in Comic-Con. And you're like, oh, yeah, let's be friends because we obviously have similar interests. And it's really cool to just be in a community of people that all know what you're talking about.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I remember a friend of mine had said to me, now that you're going around to all these conventions, you seem really happy. And I'm like, well, growing up when all the kids were playing basketball and football and I was drawing like Transformers and He-Man, like nobody really got me, and then being in high school when everybody was like sitting on the porch and walking down the streets, and I don't know where they were going, but I was just like, watching Gargoyles and Thundercats and X-Men, Batman, and I was just like, I can't get enough of this. Like, keep it on all night. I think I can recite all the words to Michael Keaton's Batman Returns because I would just watch all these like anything superhero, and I was there. And now they're like even at work when I go to work and I'm like, oh guys, The Flash is coming on season premiere, and everybody's like, the who? To go to Comic-Con and be like, oh, look, everybody in this whole building knows who the Flash is. It's just like, finally, like, where I can be understood. Did I go too far with that?
No, it's great because it is really interesting to see how these like cultures kind of develop where it's not even, you'll get people who have like inside jokes of inside jokes, like references to like, we'll make jokes about like YouTube memes about like Street Fighter 2. Like when we did Street Fighter 2, for example, everyone went around going, making references to Guile's theme and how it goes with everything and making jokes about that. Like, so it's not even enough to just know everything about like the subject matter. Like you'll have people who know like all the sub jokes and like that's the punchline when they are referencing things. Now with those communities though, like do you end up this one I don't really know. Like I know everyone starts to know each other. Are there like cliques? Are there like the popular kids and then like less popular? I mean, we see all the people doing like Deadpools. We see all those like Harley Quinn. So that's right there. Like a certain, these are trends and popular things. But are there like people or like groups that have that kind of popularity?
Oh man, are there any like groups? Honestly, I've seen groups of people. I have, and I've seen groups who are like, this year we're going to do this, next year we're going to do that. But I mean, I haven't seen one group of people that goes around together. I mean, in the sense that I know people who are like, oh, hey, you guys are doing Cyclops and Jean. We'll do Beast and Archangel. We'll just find an Iceman. So they become a group, but they weren't a group in the beginning, if you get that. Like, we're always a group. You, me, Sam, Sean, or at least I'd like for us to always be a group.
Sorry, I don't mean like posses. I mean like we have a group that rolls consistently, and there are certainly those other like types of friends out there. I meant more like are there celebrities, like are there names within the cosplay community, like people who are just like famously good at doing stuff?
You know what? There are. It's very interesting because there's no. I want to say, and I might be wrong in my usage of the word. It's not a society as into where there's like a king or parliament or president of cosplay. But there are people that you've heard of. But just because I've heard of them doesn't mean you have, or it doesn't mean the other cosplayers in the country have. But there are some very popular people. I mean, I'm familiar with Yaya Han. She's very popular. I've never met her, or she doesn't know me, but I know of her. I know of Chloe Dexter. She had a show on YouTube, and she was on the show Heroes of Cosplay. And again, I've never met them, but like I've heard of them. So there are definitely popular people. But like for instance, this year for New York Comic Con, they're doing a costume contest, which they've done every year. But I feel this year is the first time they'll be doing a beginners, armor, sewing categories rather than just costume, because there's so many different types. Like when I go on, I don't look for armored robots cosplayers because that's not my genre. There's also people who are only into video game characters. So I mean, I wouldn't be as familiar with them as I am with the people who dress as the X-Men and Superman. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, on that note, so is there ever like rivalries between different genre types? Like I said, there's always like a bunch of Jokers and Deadpools and Harley Quinns. But like, do like superhero fans ever like clash with like Klingons or like you said, video game characters?
I mean, not that I know of. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't, but from what I have seen, I haven't really seen many like argue. I've seen some arguments not on that level, but on the level of, oh, you bought your costume, you didn't make it. Some people are against store-bought costumes. Other people are like, it doesn't matter. A costume is a costume. And that, but rivalries, not so much.
Well, but that's a good point. Like store-bought versus made. When like there's store-bought where the like the whole costume store-bought, and then there's like I guess store-bought where you buy the components.
Yeah, you know what? There's a couple of different things. I mean, you have people who just, oh, Comic-Con is coming up. Let me run into Ricky's and grab a Wonder Woman outfit or a Robin outfit. You have other people who are like, oh, I can't sew, but my friend or I hired someone in Georgia to make me this whole costume. And then other people like, well, I spent 90 hours working on my costume. So, I mean, everybody does what they have to do to get in the costume. To me personally, I say when I see you, you're having fun and I recognize you and I go, oh shoot, you're Robin or you're Jean Grey. I don't care how you got the costume. I just want to say hi and have fun like you're having. But I have seen it on Facebook. It's, I don't know, to each their own. I don't get into politics in that sort of way, but they're there.
All right. Well,
when we got into it, our costumes were pretty tacky. So that's why I'm like, how can you make fun of somebody for being like, people could have made fun of us. Actually, I think they do. But still, who are we to say what somebody else did, to get into the costume?
Yeah. Do you have any advice for people who are inexperienced at cosplay? Either they've seen it and want to learn more about it, or they've done it like a couple of times, but don't really have a lot of experience, really?
My personal advice is get in the costume and go and have a great time. I'll never forget, I saw this kid dressed as the Juggernaut. And it was it was so on a budget Juggernaut, but it was awesome. He knew who he was, who he wanted to be. Everybody was crowding around him, and it was just amazing. But it wasn't, it was stuff that he put together, and he made himself look like the Juggernaut at home. He didn't have the big prosthetic arms. He didn't have the molded helmet. He was the Juggernaut. Actually, can I send you a picture of him? Is that all right? Your audio. So
you're like covering the mic. You're like really muffled right now.
Oh, sorry. I knew that was going to happen. Yeah. Hold on. All right.
Okay. So anyway, this Juggernaut, cool. Yeah. Send pictures. Send whatever. On that note, we probably should wrap this up. So I guess let's talk. You've got one web series, and you've also got your cosplay stuff. So plug whatever you want to plug right now.
Oh man, if I was going to plug something, I would love to plug my Facebook page for cosplay, which is called Danger Room Cosplay. Because I call it the Danger Room Cosplay because my favorite costumes ever were the Danger Room training X-Men uniforms, and we wore those, and it was awesome. And our cosplay is pretty fun. You'll see the wigs there and everything.
Cool.
So check that out.
Have you made any appearances recently on Vash and Justin?
Yeah, we did. We did Batman Superman, which was pretty fun. I did it with a guy named Charlie. I'm a Marvel boy, but I love superheroes. I talked about Batman Superman as nicely as I could, and then we did Civil War, which I thought was absolutely amazing. And now we're going to do X-Men this Friday, which
awesome.
I'm going to bring a coffin.
Cool. So you mentioned Facebook. Do you have an Instagram account also you want to plug?
Yeah, you know what? On Instagram, I'm Big Vash. So check that out too. It's public. Take a look at the pictures, leave some comments, say hi. All about having fun, comics, X-Men, cosplay, all that good stuff.
Cool. All right, man. Well, I'll see you at Comic-Con definitely. And if people spot you at any of the upcoming conventions,
sure. Tell them come say hi.
Yeah. All right, man. We're gonna sign off here.
Awesome. It was fun.
Cool. Yeah, no, that was good, man. So do me a favor. Send me links to any pictures you want to highlight. We can put those up in the post. I'll probably want to put up your like Archangel, probably one of us from the Lanterns.
Yeah,
I can get that one, and then anything cool that you want to highlight, and we'll put up all the relevant links. Like I said, I don't know when this will necessarily go up. I'm not one of the main hosts, but I'm like the tertiary one. I've been on like half the episodes, but yeah,
that's cool. Whatever, man. I mean,
but
I just hope it was good. I just hope it's entertaining.
Cool. Yeah, you should check out some of our podcasts, by the way, when you have a second.
Everybody in the planet has a podcast. I don't even know how to listen to them.
Oh, fair enough. Are you still using a Droid, or are you back to iPhone?
No, I still got the Droid.
If you download like any kind of like, I use like Pocket Casts, is the app. But any kind of like podcast, Pocket Casts.
Okay.
And then let me bring up how it looks.
You know what? Text me that because I'm going to forget in 3 seconds.
Sure. I will send you that info.
Okay.
Cool. But yeah, let me wrap this up because I want to feed my dog before Game of Thrones.
All right, buddy.
All right, dude. It's good talking to you. All right, see you, man.
All right, bye. I don't know how to hang up.